and this thing is getting even more bizarre. One of the key allegations in her complaint against Justin Baldoni, she writes, on another occasion, Mr. Baldoni and Ms. Lively were filming a slow dance scene for a montage in which Mr. Baldoni chose to let the camera roll and have them perform the scene, but did not act in character as Ryle. At one point, he leaned forward and slowly dragged his lips and down her neck. Mr. Baldoni was caressing Ms. Lively with his mouth. When Ms. Lively later objected to this behavior, Mr. Baldoni's response was, "I'm not even attracted to you." Well, guess what? And you can hear Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni interacting as themselves. No such moment is shown. They're acting like lovers.
And my nose is so big.
Yes. That's her big harassment moment. They are playfully acting. She's completely flirtatious with him. He is flirtatious back, but they're talking about their spouses. She doesn't say, "Oh my God, you nuzzled me and said that I smell good." She, like, time and time again, she accuses him of doing something, which then when you hear the full context, she said, he came in my trailer while I was breastfeeding. Well, then he produced the text messages showing her saying, "I'm breastfeeding, come on over." She accused his producing partner of showing her pornography, absolutely non-pornographic. Can't see any body parts. You can just see that two people clearly are in a bathtub holding their baby. You tell me whether that's what that looks like to you. She wants us to believe this is actionable harassment, what we just witnessed there, where she filed her lawsuit against him, saying this is all retaliatory and asking the court to shut him and Brian Friedman up because they're trying to try this case in the media. The only reason this whole thing got started, before she filed the lawsuit, she clearly cooperated with the New York Times to leak the whole thing. Indeed, that's, Brian argues, the reason she went and filed the complaint with the Human Rights Division. She alleges that she's a Me Too victim there. That's absurd. I will happily participate in releasing any further leaks that they have. What does she have to fear if she's telling?
Is Blake Lively's shocking feud with Justin Bond on the verge of unraveling the fight against real abuse? In the past few weeks, a storm of accusations, leaked messages, and explosive interviews have catapulted these two major celebrities into the public eye. At first glance, this might seem like just another Hollywood clash, an actress locked in a battle with her director and co-star over creative disagreements. But beneath the surface, there's something far more unsettling happening, something that could have consequences beyond the world of celebrity gossip. Media figure Megyn Kelly has stepped into the conversation, highlighting what she sees as a major threat. If Blake's allegations against Justin turn out to be exaggerated or manipulated, it could make it even harder for real survivors to be believed. But before we get into the allegations themselves, it's important to understand why Kelly, and so many others, see this as more than just another celebrity scandal. They believe this could undermine the credibility of actual victims and set back efforts to combat real misconduct. Megyn Kelly has never shied away from controversy, and she's not holding back on this situation either. From her perspective, whenever a high-profile case involves accusations that later seem to be embellished or taken out of context, it creates lasting damage. It fuels skepticism, making people second-guess those who have truly suffered. While Blake Lively insists she was uncomfortable, manipulated, and even bullied in certain situations, the evidence coming from Justin Bond's legal team tells a completely different story, one that raises serious questions about her true motivations. Kelly's concern is clear. If a major celebrity uses accusations as a tool, whether for career advantage, personal gain, or damage control, it sends dangerous ripples through society. Countless women who have endured real trauma could face even more doubt when yet another high-profile claim is exposed as inconsistent. This isn't just about an actress wanting control over a film. It's about how quickly public perception can twist narratives and overshadow legitimate stories of harassment. If Blake's accusations don't hold up under scrutiny, it could cast doubt on all major misconduct allegations, making people wonder if they're often exaggerated for personal or professional reasons. That's exactly the perception Kelly is warning against. No matter how people feel about either celebrity, the bigger issue is that false narratives, if indeed false, can do irreversible harm to real survivors. With Kelly's warning ringing in the background, attention now shifts to a legal strategy that's becoming all too common in high-stakes Hollywood disputes: the gag order. According to multiple reports, Blake Lively's team has allegedly petitioned the court for a sweeping order to prevent Justin Bond, his lawyers, and possibly even Kelly's associates from releasing additional text messages, emails, and behind-the-scenes footage that could further contradict her claims. After facing a wave of negative press and leaked evidence challenging her story, it seems Blake may be relying on the legal system to regain control of a crumbling narrative. Justin Bond, however, isn't backing down. Sources close to him say he's pushing back hard against the proposed gag order, determined to defend himself with every piece of evidence he has. So far, the released messages and video clips have presented a drastically different version of events compared to Blake's official statements. In her lawsuit and public assertions, she painted Justin as someone who repeatedly invaded her space and made her uncomfortable. Yet, numerous text exchanges show Blake initiating contact, inviting him into private settings, even during moments where she had full control over their interactions. The contradictions don't stop there. Leaked footage from a slow dance scene, which Blake described as uncomfortable and inappropriate, has further challenged her claims. The raw recordings, complete with audio, tell a different story. Contrary to her insistence that there was no friendly conversation, the footage captured her and Justin chatting casually about their personal lives while waiting for the scene to reset. Instead of appearing distressed or pressured, Blake seems engaged and at ease, fueling critics' claims that she's taking moments out of context to strengthen her legal case. And then there's the issue of creative control. Rumors have surfaced suggesting that Blake attempted to take over the film's editing process, something almost unheard of for a lead actress. Insiders claim she created her own cut of the movie without Justin's involvement, locking herself away in post-production to shape the film's final version. And the interference didn't stop there. Reports suggest her husband Ryan Reynolds even rewrote or altered certain scenes without consulting Justin. While it's not unusual for an actor's spouse to offer informal input, bypassing the film's director entirely raises major red flags. It points to a broader power play, one where Blake allegedly believed she had enough influence to sideline Justin's authority altogether. But perhaps the most shocking claim involves none other than Taylor Swift. Messages leaked from Blake's inner circle suggest she used her superstar best friend as a form of intimidation. Some reports even allege that Blake referred to herself as a powerful character in a fantasy series, with Ryan and Taylor as her dragons, boasting that they could defend her publicly if necessary. If true, this would suggest a calculated effort to leverage her celebrity connections to control the narrative. And then there's the final insult. At the film's premiere, Justin Bond was reportedly banned from appearing alongside the cast. Instead, he claims he was relegated to the basement with his own family, blocked from participating in the very project he helped create. For a filmmaker who had poured his time, energy, and vision into this movie, this move felt like a deliberate attempt to erase him from his own work. At this point, the battle between Blake Lively and Justin Bond is no longer just about a film or behind-the-scenes drama. It's a full-scale PR war. And with every new revelation, the stakes get higher. Whether Blake's allegations are true or not, the fallout from this controversy is already having an impact, with many questioning not just her claims, but the broader consequences for real survivors of misconduct. Will the truth finally come out, or is this just another carefully orchestrated Hollywood spectacle? Was Justin Bond deliberately pushed out of the limelight while Blake Lively basked in the spotlight? Instead of being part of the grand celebration, Justin was reportedly sidelined, forced to watch from afar as Blake took center stage. Critics argue this wasn't just a coincidence. They see it as yet another calculated move in a larger scheme. By painting Justin as a villain, was Blake positioning herself as the moral authority, giving herself the justification to take creative control of the film? If she could convince the public, and perhaps even the courts, that she had been mistreated, It might validate her decision to push her own version of events, reshape the narrative, and overshadow the entire production. Of course, this remains speculation for now, but with every new leak, more people are calling these moves a meticulously orchestrated power play. The battle between Blake Lively and Justin Bond is far from over. With ongoing court proceedings and the looming possibility of a gag order, what we learn in the coming weeks will be shaped by legal restrictions, undisclosed evidence, and hidden communications. There could be more texts, unseen footage, or inside accounts that either reinforce Blake's claims or dismantle them entirely. One thing is certain, public perception has already shifted dramatically as new details emerge, but we may still be missing critical pieces that could completely reframe this story. What's most striking is how this conflict has gone beyond just two celebrities clashing over a film. It has turned into a much larger cautionary tale, one about how serious allegations, particularly in cases of misconduct, demand careful scrutiny. With every new revelation, we're forced to ask, are Blake's claims rooted in truth, or was this an elaborate attempt to shield her image and career by casting herself as the victim? Meanwhile, Justin Bond finds himself in the impossible position of proving his innocence, not just in court, but in the brutal, unforgiving court of public opinion. And that's where Megyn Kelly's warning hits hardest. False or exaggerated allegations don't just affect the accused, they do real, lasting harm to actual survivors who need society's trust and support. Every time a high-profile case unravels under contradictory evidence, public skepticism increases, making it harder for real victims to be believed, even when their claims are backed by undeniable proof. That's the devastating cost, one that survivors should never have to pay because of someone else's questionable accusations. So, where do we go from here? As observers, we can stay critical, separating real misconduct from manufactured controversies. We can demand evidence rather than blindly accepting sensationalized headlines. And we can remember that, despite their fame and fortune, celebrities are still human, capable of missteps, manipulation, and self-serving decisions. Ultimately, it's up to each of us to sift through the noise, form our own conclusions, and stay vigilant so that real victims aren't drowned out by those who might be rewriting reality for their own benefit. Now that you've followed this deep dive, ask yourself, do Blake's allegations reflect a genuine experience of abuse, or a strategic maneuver that went too far? Is Justin truly at fault, or is he yet another Hollywood figure forced to defend himself in an industry fueled by personal agendas and public outrage? We may not have all the answers yet, but one thing is clear: when powerful figures clash, it's often the real survivors who risk being forgotten. And that's something none of us should ignore. Keep the conversation going, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because as this feud unfolds, there are bound to be more revelations ahead. And you won't want to miss what comes next.